What's up, Leafs Nation? Welcome back to another game preview. I'm Zack Phillips, and today we're going to be taking a look at game number 65 of the Toronto Maple Leafs regular season and what is a really important game here tonight against the Florida Panthers, a 4-point game. You want to open up some room. You want to get yourself into top in the Atlantic Division. Well, winning 2 points and keeping the Panthers from getting 2 points, it's going to be an important night here for the Toronto Maple Leafs in their pursuit of first in the Atlantic Division. We'll dig into today's lines. We'll get into the power play, the penalty kill, and we'll talk about the starting goaltenders. And on top of that, we'll give out our best bet, all a presentation of Bet365, proud partner of Leafs Nation pregame and the Leafs Nation After Dark. So let's jump into this thing here right away, and let's go to Daily Faceoff to talk about tonight's lineups for this Maple Leafs team. Some minor tweaks here, some of which we kind of saw towards the end of the game on Monday night against the Utah Hockey Club. Not surprisingly, given that they were just really struggling to generate offense after kind of the first period there, and it just shut down from that point on. And even with that early goal in the second period by Simon Benoit, which was briefly Steven Lorentz's and then not Steven Lorentz's again, but the Leafs were not generating much. They kind of went quiet again, and now as you're rapidly approaching the playoffs, Craig Berube is basically desperately trying to find anything and everything he can that works together with some type of chemistry, any combinations that you can keep on a consistent basis to get yourself ready for the playoffs. So going to the Daily Faceoff here right now to take a look at our lines. You're going to start with the line that no one's surprised gets shaken up. Nyes, Matthews, Marner, although I could possibly argue here that maybe it might be time to shake up Matthews and Marner. Maybe you want to separate them, unless, I don't know, maybe they're just waiting to do the classic, like, it's like the Nick Robertson thing, where the guy sits in the press box, he comes back, and he's guaranteed to score a goal, like, it's clockwork with him. Well, if you separate Matthews and Marner and then they go back together, it's like they're shot out of a cannon for the first couple of games. Then they die off, and then all of a sudden they're irrelevant, and then you break them apart and then you put them back together, and it's the exact same thing again. Like clockwork with these guys, where it's like you send a message, hey, you're not playing together anymore, and all of a sudden they kick things into gear. I don't know, maybe they're waiting until like a game before the playoffs, they break them up, and then game one they put them back. Next thing you know, it's like gung-ho scoring goals like you've never seen before. Maybe that's the plan, but I could argue that those guys could be broken up. Just feels like there's just, I mean, you're still getting points, you're getting some power play points, but if you really want to be dominant, I don't know, maybe refresh things a little bit here. And the reason I would more so go to that would be because of what you're getting out of the second line right now. John Tavares and William Nylander. They're struggling to find anybody to go alongside those guys. For a while, it was Pontus Holmberg. He was the guy who was getting things going. Then they switch him out and they put Bobby McMann. I think the reason that you probably don't want McMann on the second line is, even though he's a guy who's proven he can play in the top six, he's more effective in a third line role. I think he's better to support the guys alongside of him there, support Max Domi, support Scott Laughton here potentially, and kind of be a driver, be a guy who brings energy, physicality, hard on the forecheck. Like, that line can really develop an identity with a guy like Bobby McMann that's a little bit different than what it would be if it's Pontus Holmberg, if it's Max Pacioretty there potentially, based on how he was playing before he got injured, if it's Calle Jarnkrok, like, you name it. It's a little bit different if it's McMann, Laughton, and Domi. The construction, the identity, it all kind of starts to form and filter into one common category there. So maybe that's why they want that one, but I don't know. Like the second line right now, you jump Calle Jarnkrok into there. Well, this whole time I'm talking about, I don't think you want Calle Jarnkrok in your second line. I don't think you want him in your top six. It's a problem you ran into when you had Sheldon Keefe here. Now, maybe it's just something there like, hey, we know that this guy has played in this spot. Maybe they're trying to kickstart Jarnkrok, and maybe it's because Nylander and Tavares are at least just familiar with him. I don't know right now why they're kind of like going back to this well, but Calle Jarnkrok's been fine since returning. I think he's got to get his, feet under him here, get back to game speed. But he's much more effective for you if he's in a third or fourth line role, not up here in the top six. Like, he's just another guy. He's not a difference maker. Whereas in the bottom, he could actually make an impact on the game. So regardless, this is what you go to with tonight's lines in terms of where you've shaken things out. Now, that's the biggest tweak. Obviously, we saw Pontus Holmberg moved around the lineup the other day against Utah. We started to see it there as well in the Colorado game where things are getting shaken up. But Holmberg now down to the fourth line. You're going to have him, Kampf, and Lorentz as tonight's fourth line for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, I don't think there's any issue with this. I'm not the biggest fan personally of having Calle Jarnkrok up in the top six. I mean, it kind of starts to make you feel a little bit uneasy and back to the mental state that we used to be in over the last few trade deadlines where we're talking about you need a top six, you need a top six. It was like, they'll figure it out. They've got the guys in that room. Like, they'll be okay. And now all of a sudden here we are again. I'm like, I can't believe Calle Jarnkrok's back in the top six, and it's no disrespect to him. It's just I think he's like a replacement level player. Like, he's a guy you can just plug in there, but he doesn't really move the needle or do too much for you, and he's probably better in the bottom six. Regardless, that's what you've got for the forward lines tonight. Going down to the defensive lines, and this is what we have listed right now. I would not be surprised if things change, but let's talk about it in both scenarios. So we'll start with how it's listed currently. Morgan Rielly, Brendan Carlo, Jake McCabe, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Small Benoit, Philippe Myers. So, as is, and we'll go to the flip side because depending on what happens in warm-up tonight, I guess, here, we could be in a very different situation, and we're going to see a massive shakeup, and the defense could feel a lot different. But right now, Morgan Rielly, Brandon Carlo as the first pair. I almost feel bad for Brandon Carlo right now because, like, Morgan Rielly is really, really struggling, and you can't mess with some of the other stuff. Like, you don't want to put Brandon Carlo down to a line or a pairing, with Jake McCabe and then have them develop chemistry and then be like, hey, Carlo, Chris Tanev's coming back here now. He's the guy that's playing with McCabe. We know what they've been all season. We know what they're going to provide us in the playoffs. You've got to kick rocks and go back with Morgan Rielly after you've not developed chemistry, after you've not played together. And in the brief minutes that you did or games that you did, it didn't look that great. And I think a lot of this, and I feel bad for Carlo, is because Morgan Rielly hasn't been that great. We can have the conversation over and over and over again about, we need to find a partner for Morgan Rielly. Well, at what point does the $7.5 million defenseman step up and figure out how to play with other people? Because maybe if you constantly need another partner to be brought in here, maybe you just shouldn't be the highest paid defenseman. If you always need a crutch, maybe that's not what your valuation is. And I know this is a struggle, and I know in the playoffs he's traditionally upped his game, but right now, this feels like the worst year that we've watched of Morgan Rielly, and going into one of the most important seasons where you're looking at a defensive core that Brad Treliving has drastically improved, and you're looking at Austin Matthews injured, these weird slumps from William Nylander here and there. You're also kind of taking into account the fact that Mitch Marner's a UFA, John Tavares is a UFA. This is the best goaltending you've got in a long time. Like, all of these pieces is kind of like, okay, Morgan Rielly, you need to step up because this is the year. You've got to take advantage of it with guys who could potentially walk. And then it's also like you need to kind of counterbalance here or help out Austin Matthews, who's clearly playing through something right now. Like, you need to help on all accounts. You need everybody involved, and he's just not held his weight. And right now, it's kind of throwing Brandon Carlo to the wolves. So, these are your pairings right now. What could change things, and I hope does, as long as he's not rushing back, but Chris Tanev is a game-time decision for tonight. He did not take part in, like, the extra skate that went on after. He was just out there for regular skate, and then that was it. But then Philippe Myers left the extra skate early, which means that maybe Chris Tanev doesn't play. Berube then says he's a game-time decision. We'll see. Like, we heard Max Pacioretty was going to play on a Thursday. He was going to play on the Friday. And then he ends up going on injured reserve. So who knows with this team ever what anything is happening. Like, nobody knows ever what's going on. Now, if Tanev plays, you see a drastically improved team. You're going to see Brandon Carlo and Morgan Rielly. They're going to play less minutes. Brandon Carlo probably just elevates and eats up tons of PK minutes so that he still gets his ice time, he still gets his cookies. Morgan Rielly is now not in as much of a pressure role. Chris Tanev comes back and plays with Jake McCabe. They're the number one pair. They're your shutdown pair. And then Oliver Ekman-Larsson goes down to your third pair, which improves your third pair miles. He goes in there, probably slides Simone Benoit over, just based on what we saw out of practice this morning there, that is. And then Philippe Myers comes out, and now all of a sudden you're looking at a D-core that's much improved than what you're currently looking at. So, I don't know. Like, Chris Tanev is a major piece here, but if you have one guy that goes out and it sewers you, especially a guy who plays as heavy and as hard as he does, that's kind of scary when you're approaching the playoffs. Like, you don't want it to be that reliant on one guy at all times. So that's your defensive pairs and your forwards. Just quickly taking a look at the first power play and the second power play unit. Obviously, they're the 5-forward power play. They looked really good in the first unit the first power play they had Monday night against Utah. Second power play they didn't look as good, and then there was the second unit who ends up scoring. They have 5 power plays that night. That caps out at 2 for 5, which, yeah, it's a good percentage for your power play, but, I mean, you watch the process of the next 3 power plays that they had, and, I mean, one of them was shortened because there was, like, overlapping penalties and that kind of stuff, so maybe discount those and just talk about the other 2 that they had. It struggled entering the zone and setting up. In the zone, okay, yeah, they were moving it well and they just couldn't score, but struggling to enter the zone, which is a problem that we've talked about for, like, not even 64 games at this point. This is a problem we've talked about for, like, 5 years with this group. Like, can't get in the zone, can't get in the zone, can't get in the zone. It's just repeated over and over and over again, and here you go, yet again, and back on Monday against Utah, problem that arises year in and year out. Can't get in the zone later on into their power plays there. First one looked good. Second one, the second unit scores. After that, zone entry was a struggle. I don't know. I'm very, very concerned about the power play entering the playoffs. Second unit, McMahon, Domi, Yarncroke, Rielly, and Ekman-Larsson, just as we've expected, and keeping it consistent to what it's been for the last little while. Now, goaltending matchups for tonight's game. We have confirmed here Anthony Stolarz, and then on the other side, Sergei Bobrovsky. So the battle of current and ex-Florida goaltenders will take place here. I think at this point, Anthony Stolarz holds the net or holds the spot as the number one if you head into a playoff series. I think that you get lucky here being Toronto that you can kind of like maneuver around and you can bounce back and forth, or if you lose one guy because of confidence or injury, you can bounce to the other one and that guy can be there to support you. Like, they've had pretty good goaltending here so far. I just think that at this point, Stolarz has been in the playoffs. He's seen it. It's not like he's like played in an outrageous amount of games, but he has been there. He's a veteran guy. He's an older guy. The way the team's played in front of him, and especially the play as of late, I think he holds the number one spot for the Leafs. Let's get over to our best bet segment for tonight's game, and our best bet is presented by Bet365. Breaking news coming in from Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win is a barn burner. Every face-off, hat-trick, power play, shot on goal, penalty shot, and every suspenseful minute in between is amazing. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365, an official partner of the NHL. Download the Bet365 app today and use the code NATION, N-A-T-I-O-N. That's code NATION, N-A-T-I-O-N, all caps, to get in on the game. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. So as our season has gone on here now, and we're approaching the playoffs, which will still continue to give out the best bets, but as we get closer and closer, just a quick update. 64 games into the year, our record on the season is no bueno. We are 22 wins and 45 losses. But I'm not worried about wins and losses. I'm worried about ROI and units. We are profiting here so far in the season, 5.43 units. That's a profit of $543 here on the show. If you've bet every play with the same units, same staking, and at the same prices as us, all over at Bet365, proud partner of the show. So that's kind of where we're sitting at. I don't care about the record. I mean, we're taking bigger swings. We're betting big plus money numbers. You're going to lose those more often than you're not. That's how betting works. But if you're getting the best of the number, if you're getting the best prices in market, and if you're constantly betting something that you think should be maybe valued less than it is and you're getting good value on the number, then in the long run, you should be able to come out on top. And as of right now, we are up on the season. So we're going to take another swing here tonight. I have a bet that I think is fun. Is it going to win? Probably not. Like, let's call it what it is. That's how betting works, and that's how it works when you bet on some of these bigger plus numbers. But one of the things that we've seen a lot out of this group lately is, some depth scoring. We keep talking about depth scoring. Depth scoring is stepping up. Bottom six scoring is stepping up. Well, why not put our money to the test here tonight in a game where a guy, like in the bottom six might really have to elevate his play. He might really have to step up in a fashion where you're going to play a big, physical, hard team, a team that's hard on the forecheck, team that's maybe going to start gearing up for the playoffs and be tougher to score against. So you're going to have to maybe get some contributions from other people. Tonight, I'm going to head over to the Bet365 page, and we're going to go over to the player props market for Leafs Panthers. We go to the goal scorers. Yes, we're going to click show more. We're going to scroll down a little bit, and you just keep going until you get a bit deeper into where our numbers are currently at. We're going to go to the plus 14s, plus 1,400, Steven Lorenz, anytime goal. $20 on Steven Lorenz to score a goal tonight profits you $280. Plus 1,400, Steven Lorenz, anytime goal profits you $280 here tonight. Look, you need depth contributions. You need these guys to step up. Games like this, playoff style game, important game. You're fighting for first in the Atlantic. It's imperative that your bottom six guys are at least contributing or making an impact on the game. I don't necessarily think he scores just based on what the price is currently at and all that kind of stuff, trying to factor everything in. But it's fun. It's a fun one here. It's his old team. It's the team he left from last year. He got the cup ring. Already had the game against them this year. Let's turn it around. Let's go rocking here against the Florida Panthers here tonight. Let's get a goal from our bottom six, and let's make sure it's Steven Lorenz plus 1,400. $20 will profit us $280 here tonight. That's all I've got for you guys. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe here to the channel. Leafs Nation 401 right here on YouTube. If you're watching on Twitter, like this, comment, all that kind of stuff. No matter where you are, drop your thoughts below on tonight's game, your predictions, your best bets. Do you like mine? Do you dislike mine? I want to hear it all. Looking forward to reading it, looking forward to seeing it. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you guys tonight following the Leafs Panthers game, and I will be joined for Leafs Nation After Dark tonight by none other than Carter Hutton. Until then, keep believing. For more content just like this, including game previews, post-game live shows, Leafs Morning Take Monday through Friday with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with special guests, as well as instant reaction videos, make sure to be subscribed here to the Leafs Nation YouTube channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss anything, and drop a like.